Good evening and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to Starbase Weekly, the RGV aerial deep dive into images he captured from the ground and air in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. Channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Starbase Weekly. It's episode 39 and my name is Mauricio. I'll pass this along to Indian Star.
Hi everybody, it's me, Indian Star. Oh, just wanted to say hi. And I'll pass it along.
Hey guys, this is Grandpa Joe, everybody's favorite space grandpa. Not really grandpa, disclaimer. And with that, let's hand it over to Zach Golden.
Oh, well, I believe we skipped over one person, but I'll go ahead and introduce him. We also have Jax with us today. Hello, Jax.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yes, and I think we have a whole crew with us today because Thomas is here as well. So he's been out for a while, but we are excited to have him with us. So got the whole crew today. But sorry, Thomas, you are here with us, right?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Welcome. It's good to have you.
This is what happens when I miss the pre-production meetings. Glad to have you all with us.
So we wanted to start off this week by apologizing to everybody for the late notification on the rescheduling of the show yesterday. We were kind of not sure what exactly, the plan was at first, just because, as some of you may know, we're unable to fit in a flyover this week. And I don't know, Mauricio, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, it's pretty, the flyover was delayed or rescheduled or scrubbed, if you want to call it that, due to weather. It's one of those situations where the weather doesn't cooperate and we just missed our opportunity. Of course, there was sunny days out in Starbase, as you can see in this image right here that was taken from a drone. But, the weather down there is really unpredictable. It'll be like this for a few hours, and then the next hour it will be raining, which is exactly what happened when we went out there on Saturday to take the ground shots. And that's mainly the reason why the stream was delayed. So we do apologize for that.
Right, and to add to that, normally Mauricio will go out on Friday mornings to do all of his ground shots, but as most of you know, they scheduled a Booster 7 spin prime test on Friday morning, so that kind of got in the way of being able to actually get out there and take those ground shots. So we ended up having to push the stream out. So thank you guys for joining us today. And again, sorry for the late notifications on that. And as Mauricio said, we do not have flyover pictures, but we do have a few drone shots, which are really awesome. This is just about as close as you can get with a drone to Starbase. Disclaimer. So don't go out there trying to get any closer than this. After this, I believe Mauricio turned around and went to the Massey site so that we could get an update on what's going on over there, because that is a location that we can fly over with drones. So we might as well go ahead and hop over there right now. And I think, let me swap over to that. Oh, actually, sorry. Probably take a second to appreciate these images first, because this is a really nice shot of Starbase from an angle that we don't really get to see very often anymore. This is pretty awesome. Looking like that Sanchez site is looking a little bit cleaner these days.
It really feels a little different from this angle, and yeah, it definitely more organized than it seems from overhead.
For sure.
I'm kind of glad you got this shot.
I'm really glad you got this shot.
And of course, I always love the perspective where you can see the build site with the launch site just right there.
Wait a minute, you can see the burnt grass from here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, did it burn all the way up to there? To the dark spot?
Yeah, so that's actually one thing we weren't really 100% sure on where exactly it went. So hold on, let me see if the other image has a little bit better of a view of it. There we go. So you can see that so there was two separate parts of the fire. So one part of it came down in this area, and then the rest of it split off into two different zones, and it looks like it made it all the way down here. I think this is the area where they were setting the backburn fire at. So they burned all of this ahead of it to kind of stop it, essentially.
So you see that little red box on the left? We were watching the fire occur pretty much from there down to the corner of the road. That was basically the backburn. All of that was backburn.
I can't really tell where it starts, though. It almost seems like it starts right here as far as the backburn goes.
Well, no, we were watching it on the cameras. Straight out from Lab's camera, which is basically that red box right there.
Yep. Straight
out to the right, that's pretty much the midpoint. That point forward, or down on your screen here, that was the backburn.
Yeah, so I mean, it actually doesn't look as bad as I was expecting it to. You can see that some of it is still green, like in the middle, but yeah, I mean, it definitely is nice to finally have this perspective and see what that actually looks like. I don't know how I wasn't even paying attention to that. Good catch, Mauricio.
Yeah, somebody did mention. So if you look at that team spot, there's two different spots. There's a black area and then there's a brown area. The black spot looks to be the shadow of a cloud.
Right
so
here.
So we don't get that confused here.
Yeah, we got a cloud overhead. So I'm really glad you got that image, especially since we weren't able to do Flyover week. It's Flyover this week. It's nice to actually still be able to see what that actually looked like. So great job capturing that, Mauricio.
Ditto. Yeah, we were talking to Miss Maria Pointer, and she said that they call that grass grease grass, and it has a pretty high oil content, allegedly. So I don't know, maybe that's why it burned so nicely. And a little dry, too.
There was times where it actually looked like it was burning like black smoke, which is pretty rare. For brush fires, usually that only happens like once it finally hits a structure or something like that. So yeah, I mean, that I could kind of see where they would get that from, because it definitely looked, I mean, if there was oil, like greasy plant material, I don't know really what would cause that, but I could definitely see that happening.
Also, there was a literal dumpster fire at some point there. Not like the usual dumpster fire that's more metaphorical.
An actual dumpster fire. Yeah, this is awesome. The one last thing to comment on is just, again, being able to appreciate how much larger the Mega Bay is than the high bay next to it. If any of you have ever been to Starbase and you've stood in front of either of these two buildings, especially if you haven't been there since they built this one, then it's really cool to reflect on what this one looked like and then now see how large this one is next to it, which is definitely pretty impressive.
The scale is really mind-boggling. And then when you consider that the VAB down at NASA, it feels like it's twice as big as that. It's crazy. It's mind-blowing.
I really wish they had a second Mega Bay out here.
Yeah, they're going to get two down at Cape Canaveral as well, so that'd be cool to see.
Yeah. So with that, let's continue on. We have a quick shot of Massey's, which is really awesome. I love this view, and unfortunately, people are probably going to want to see this angle of it every week now, because this looks extremely clear. This is really awesome. So right here, we're directly above the Massey's site, which is now completely SpaceX property. So, Thomas, I don't think you've seen this since they removed most of the shooting ranges, right?
I've seen bits and pieces, but that test cell that for MaxQ testing, that's the thing that's really standing out to me. I'm wondering if they are planning on doing some MaxQ testing at Massey's, because it's basically set up as a temporary spot in that pad right there. Yeah, you pointed it out. It looks like it's going to be headed over that direction.
Are there any overhead wires between Starbase and Massey's that would prevent them from carrying a nose cone down there?
No.
Well, the nose cone should fit within here. So, if they got this here, I feel like they should be able to get that in pretty easily. Huh.
That's entirely logical. It's too early in the morning for all that.
Man, I mean, that would be really interesting if... I'm sure that wouldn't be the only purpose of this facility. I mean, obviously, we're still expecting a Raptor test facility in here, possibly. But to set up these just for a test like that, I mean, we've only seen them do that test one time, so that would be pretty interesting. The key is that they have 2 tanks here, so... and obviously, with that max Q test, I don't think you're actually pressurizing it anyways. So, I guess we should still expect to see that Raptor facility. But it's interesting where that pad is located, and also where these pipe racks are. I don't really see anything going over there yet, but you can see this little ditch going down to the ground, and another pad over here that they're about to start on. This is very, very interesting. We got some cryo tubes over here actually as well too. So they're getting to work pretty quick. I think that most of this stuff was prefabricated at the Sanchez site. So they're probably going to be setting this up extremely fast because all they're doing is just bringing it over here and connecting it all together. You can actually see a lot of the pipes on it. Is those pipes on the ground right there? I think so.
Or could just be a shadow, hard to tell. Actually, on the nose cone, Thomas and I were there during that max Q testing, and I want to say that I think it was pressurized, and I say that because the condensers were running, and you could hear it filling with gas, and then you could hear the metal popping out. So I think it was pressurized in the birdcage.
There was 2 different tests going on that day. We had SN15, that was pressurized. It was venting. That was so awesome. But the Max Q nose cone system that they were testing, they had a pole through the center of it all the way up to the tip of the nose cone, which was a black, basically piece of metal that was in a cone shape. They were pulling down on that particular piece. So that's what was causing it to really flex between that. And then they had 2 actuators. It was just popping all over the place.
Yeah, because you have to remember that, I guess on these new ships with the payload base, Elon had said that they do some minimal pressurization, but back in the ship 20 days and that kind of thing, there shouldn't have been much, if any, pressurization going on up there, and you're trying to simulate flight conditions with this thing.
It was fully open at the bottom, from what I remember.
It did have a dome in there.
Well, the dome was cut through. They had that piston that was going through the dome itself.
That was a screwed up looking dome.
All right, so back to Massey's. I missed last week. Are those tanks? Did they get moved there last week, or is that new for this week?
Yeah, these tanks got moved 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
I believe it was 2 weeks ago. All these weeks are blending in together. They got moved here, I believe, 2 weeks ago. And the pad was poured 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, they're like I said, they're moving very, very quickly. I take that back. So last week was the first time we saw them actually here, I believe, on last week's episode.
I want to say 2 weeks ago we saw the footings had been poured and were ready. Right. Yeah, we just hadn't seen them move down, or I hadn't seen them move down yet.
Looks like they already have their helium supply, their helium storage canisters on location. This is going to be very interesting to watch all of this develop. And I think, I could be mistaken, but I believe that like most of the dirt that was over here in this area is now gone. Wasn't there way more? Do we need a picture to compare this to?
I think they've been leveling it out, or something along those lines, because the left side, it's pretty flat. And either they're picking it up and moving it out, or they're leveling it out some other way.
Let me go ahead and bring up an older image. 1 second here.
It's probably going up to the top right. That area is really level from what I remember.
Okay, so here we go. This is what it looked like last week.
Oh, wow. That is a huge difference. That's all been leveled out. It looks like it's been leveled off to the left.
Leveled or
Go to the far right again, real quick, because you could see on the image itself. Go to the
other
far
one?
right. Yeah, all the way to the right.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about the.
Yeah, that area right there. You see, so all this dirt is where it's been going.
Oh, from here over to here.
Yeah. You can see
That's
the tracks
weird.
pretty much.
This almost looked like it was dirt that was removed from somewhere else, because you can see like some of this down here, which is definitely trash. Like this in here is kind of trash dirt. You know what I mean?
It's all
Not
backfill,
really.
yeah.
Yeah, like not really what you would put down as your foundation, right?
They're just putting in backfill, trying to bring up the grade for that area to the far right. So you probably have construction for pretty much anything. They've got a lot of dirt that's coming out. This is where it's going from anywhere in the county. And then they just piled it up on the left and brought it over to the right when they were ready for it.
Take a look at this one more time from that other angle. Yeah, so I mean, you would think that if all of that dirt went just in here, that it would be a little bit higher up, but it is a possibility, and also some of it is probably just being trucked out as well, too. But yeah, I mean, if this was like a temporary holding spot for some of it, and you can kind of see down here that there's a lot of like trash mixed in with this, you know? And this over here looks super smooth. I'm surprised they haven't done a little more here yet. I was expecting that another concrete pad would already be poured by now. But they're definitely making moves in this area now that the Sanchez site, that Massey site is now fully theirs. So yeah, it'll be interesting to keep watching this over the next few weeks.
The one thing that stands out to me is that they only have 2 large commodity tanks there, and you need at least 3, one for oxygen, one for methane, and one for nitrogen, if you're going to do Raptor testing.
I wouldn't be surprised if a smaller nitrogen tank gets brought right here.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, you don't need as much nitrogen.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah.
So another thing to note about Massey's here is that they actually already closed off that road that leads up to Massey's, which is Massey's Way. And so, yeah, it's no longer accessible to the public as it was before.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to try and see if we got a angle of the road, but
I got one.
Yeah,
and so I didn't get one, but Maria Pointer, she just posted some images just a little while ago, and it does show the signs up in the front. I posted it in live comms, and maybe Thomas knows the answer to this, but I'm not sure if. So there's a private. When I was driving up to the Massey's Way, which is the name of the street, there's a sign up front that says private property.
Yeah, so all of that is private from Highway 4 all the way down to that site. So that's all private.
Yeah, that was my question yesterday, and I was concerned whether or not that was actually a public road or not. But yeah,
no, just Highway 4.
Yeah,
and actually, you can see the power lines right there. The power lines do run parallel to Massey's, but then they stop and go underground under this little private road that's the Massey's old private road here that now owns is SpaceX's property there.
right, because these are the old power lines, right?
Those are the old ones, but there's brand new ones. I think they connect right into these as well.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some Google Earth images as well, just to double check on that, because I was like, I'm not sure if there is power lines running above that road or not. So I had to double check, and they're not running above it. They actually go underground just for that duration, so that they can get ships or large articles in there. Because I was like, how did they get that in there if there is power lines? Because I had to double check, but because I was so certain. But that's when you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, we're on an abbreviated schedule this week, so I guess.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Maria for posting these so that we could show them, just to kind of get an idea of where the actual boundary line is, where it becomes the private property. So with that, as Grandpa Joe was saying, let's go ahead and swap over more to the build site from the ground. Sorry, I had to scroll through a whole bunch of images just to get to that side. But let's go ahead and hop into it. And first, I think we have some super chats that we should probably call out as well too.
Sure. We have a couple of new people who've joined RGV patrons and become members, Queen Bees and Scat1975. We also have donations from 55 Chevy Guy, who donated $20, saying, hoping to see Sunny today, but here's a little donation for fuel. Start off a train. And then Sebastian Boyle comes in with £2. Have a great weekend, y'all. And Mike Smith has a question. He's wondering, how far is the old range from the production site?
So I don't know if we have the overhead image. I think we showed that last week, possibly. We had a map for that. If I can find that, I will show the distance from the build site. I think what did we say? It was roughly.
I got 4.43 miles by the crow flies.
Yeah, so it was super close.
Yeah, it was 7.6 kilometers from Massey's directly to the production site.
Yeah, so it's definitely super close to Starbase, which is nice because they won't have to travel very far for engine repairs, hopefully. So yeah, that'll be really awesome. Was that the only question that we had, Indy?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Wait,
Well, I
real
know
quick,
that,
Mauricio, do you think in metric or do you think in imperial?
Well, most people they prefer metric, so that's why I did it in kilometers.
Me too. It's so much easier. Though I did grow up using miles. All right, sorry to derail. Go ahead.
You're fine. So, I have a feeling Jax is sitting here itching, wanting to talk about this. So, I believe I don't know. I'm not sure this is 26's nose cone. I believe
It is. Yeah. I'm sure many people have seen this. It moved out to the ring yard a few days ago. Most notably doesn't have a thermal protection system or forward flaps. Now, if you've tuned into other streams, or if you're following the Ring Watchers on Twitter, you would have. This wasn't unexpected. Probably about a month ago, we saw indications that Ship 26 wouldn't have tiles. Yeah, and Mauricio did find a label on the nose cone, which was pretty nice.
is this the same nose cone from the front right here?
It most certainly is. If you go 2 photos to the right, you can. It's not very clear, but if we zoom in, you can just kind of make out on the that top line right there. The last number is 27.
Let's see this. Hold on. I'm going to while you're doing this, I'm going to edit the image in the background to see if I can brighten it up a little bit for us.
Perfect. So this nose cone, it should be made clear that nose cone serial numbers and ship serial numbers rarely line up. So this is ship 26's nose cone or nose cone number 27, which we had already assumed from our previous tracking, but this was, you can kind of just make out a 7 at the end there, which confirmed it to us that, okay, that's who this is. Which I don't know, it was almost sad to have it confirmed, where you're like, oh, so that's what it is. It won't have, they're not putting flaps, are they? The big confusion right now is that this thing has been moved to the ring yard and is staged outside of the high bay. Yet they have the holes for where they put the flap hinges and things like that. They have those left open, which isn't what you'd expect. Generally you don't do that kind of thing in the high bay, but we're gonna have to keep an eye on that, see what happens with
How
that
can you
nose
read
cone.
this?
Just you kind of have to put that one. Okay, we can't read that one.
No. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it's more just looking for the shape, seeing if it makes sense.
Right.
And yeah, just to the right of this nose cone, you have a payload bay.
Hold on one second, Mauricio. You got a little bit of static coming in from your side.
Oh, my bad. I was going to say there's 4 images, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 images before this one, and that's for the other barrel section, or to the left. 5 images.
Yeah.
This one.
One more to the right.
Yeah, that's a nice zoomed in. And it was last night during our Patreon show and tell in RGV's Discord server, where we put this overlay of roughly what we saw. I've talked to some people, and there are some corrections to be made, but it's pretty much there. And
Yeah,
you can
that
see
looks-
you
That's
can
real
see
good.
it. Yeah, you can see at the top it says the ship and nose cone serial number, and it confirms that this is to go with ship 26's nose cone.
26, yeah.
So this ship is going to have a payload bay for Starlinks, and that was a question. Yeah,
that remains to be seen.
To me, it would almost make more sense if this was a propellant transfer test vehicle or something of that nature, where it would remain in space. But if it's if they're stripping out all the heat shield tiles and mating it up with a payload bay for Starlinks, that brings up more interesting questions, like what are they doing?
Yeah, because what I will say is you can see it says the completion date is due to be on September 20th, 2022. That's in 2 days from now.
Interesting.
They're not
How can they
putting
put a completion date before it actually happens?
It's a little bit confusing, but you know what? They're working ahead, I guess.
Got to have targets, to
This
get
is
everything to
interesting.
line up.
You see how the start date has the question mark? I feel like the question mark should be down here.
Well, the weird part is that it's due to be completed in 2 days, according to this, and yet this thing has no sign of any Pez dispenser in it other than the gaps in the internal stringers, which would be to put a door. But other than that, there is no indication that this thing will receive a Pez dispenser anytime soon or at all.
So with no Pez dispenser, would you think that this might just be a, I don't know, like a mass simulator for the booster? Like build out a nose cone with. Sorry, I'm gonna have to zoom out on this one a little bit. Build out the nose cone, the full vehicle basically without possibly even engines, but just like a mass simulator for the top of the booster.
That's definitely one possibility that I like, but it just makes sense because this thing doesn't scream "fly me." It
No,
doesn't
not
make
at all.
sense.
Here's a quick idea. What if they're taking the nose cone and in 2 days they stack it to the top forward section of the forward barrel? Because that's what they typically need to do in order to do a lot of other things. And then they do the rest of it for cutting out the door and everything else there.
You'd probably have a hard time lowering in the Pez dispenser from the top. Because that's how they install it. And it's...
That's a good point. But you could drop the whole nose cone on top of it, right?
You probably could. It's just the issue is that, and we're going to be putting out a thread on the Ring Watchers Twitter about this whole situation in a little while. Maybe later today, probably tomorrow.
Okay,
But,
we won't ask you to go too deep into it then.
yeah, I'm not going to go incredibly deep, but the completion date, like that date, isn't the only thing suggesting that this wouldn't have a Pez dispenser. But that's where I'll leave it at.
Okay.
Yeah, so my 2 thoughts on that are, if it does have a Pez dispenser, they may just be wanting to get to orbit, launch a few Starlinks, and just kind of prove out the system in space, and they're not really so worried about recovering it. Or the propellant transfer vehicle, just have it be something for that, or just a test vehicle, or scrap. So there's plenty of different ways this could go.
For sure.
Agreed. So let's move back a little bit. I'm going to show ship 25 in the high bay. Looking pretty good.
It's
A little shiny.
High bay, sorry.
yeah, it's looking pretty nice. Should hopefully be finishing up welding over the next couple of days. It's being done by the robot on the back wall.
Is it just me, or is the reflectivity of the nose cone and the bottom different? Like, is it a different grade of steel, or just a different finish? Like, you see how it's flatter on the nose cone and it's sharper down below on the body?
Yeah.
It's a curious thing to note.
I mean,
Sure.
maybe this is polished. Maybe this one's polished and the rest of them aren't.
Well, so
Yes.
the couple of key differences, it's stretch formed and it's like 3.6 millimeters on the top. It's a little bit thicker at the bottom. So it is definitely different steel and how it's been made, but it's really the roughness average. It's like 50% on the bottom one, or maybe it's a bit lower than that. And it would be 50% on the top.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, you won't be seeing Ship 25 roll out anytime in the immediate future. It still has a ways to go before it's ready to be tested, but hopefully they make good progress on it. Oh, Booster 8 on the other hand, that thing's coming along really nicely.
Do we still think Ship 25 is going to go with Booster 8 for if they do have a flight?
I think that depends on what happens with Booster 7.
Yeah. I mean, Booster 7 has taken some licks and has kept on ticking, but, Booster 8 might be the one.
So, Booster 8 along the entire raceway has had aero covers put on over everything. All of the tape covering everything, the chines are there. If they wanted to test this...
Wait, reset. You said tape coverings. All of these are tape? Is this duct tape?
It's that might be tape. I'm not 100% sure. Sorry, I think my mic cut out there. But yeah, those have been all connected together. On the raceway going up the booster, you'll see that there are a bunch of aero covers over some of the connection points, like there. Yeah, those are all brand new, and it seems that if they wanted to roll this thing out, I think by this point that we could say yeah, they probably could.
Well, it looks like even on the edges, if you go down a little bit again, even the edges might have some of that speed tape on it, because that's what that stuff on the right is speed tape. But on the left, you can see a perimeter that kind of looks shiny like it as well.
Yeah.
On the left, that one right there. Left and in the middle, yeah.
They tape over everything. But yeah, now it remains to be seen if we'll see the grid fins go on before it rolls out. But
So
here's
the question is, if it rolls out, what would they do with it? So are they just going to, do you think that they would just test it on the actual transport stand next to the cryo station? Like, I don't think we've seen that happen yet.
No, we haven't, but I guess there's a first time for everything, right? I've always thought that they could. They put the mounting pads for the booster stand to bolt down onto, and I don't think that's done without a purpose. I don't know if it could hold maybe the full weight, like a fully loaded booster, but I think they could at least do a proofing.
Pressure test, yeah, and all that stuff, yeah. That makes sense.
Now, what I thought was really cool was if you zoom in on the load point just between the two grid fin holes, the red sling that was for the crane hook or the crane strap has been removed. So it's a fair assumption to say boost rate wouldn't be lifted onto the can crusher or anything like that. It's they seemingly intend on only lifting it with the arms whenever they get to do that.
Isn't this piece able to just be like screwed back on though?
It is, but you wouldn't remove it to just put it back. They removed it for a reason.
So it was there originally?
It was there, yeah, in the last set of ground photos.
Interesting.
Very much so.
I wouldn't mind Booster 8 being the first orbital flight vehicle.
I wouldn't mind that at all either. Have we seen any indications of the grid fins being installed or even available there? Or do you think we'll wait until it's just about ready to roll out the door?
I don't think they've gone up yet, but I'm pretty sure we saw one being moved around the ring yard a few days ago. So they might be out there waiting to go up. It's hard to say. We need a flyover.
So speaking of boosters, we also have Booster 9 inside of the Mega Bay, sitting in the corner. So this is the LOX tank for Booster 9, and it's not yet on top of the thrust section. So it still is going to get a little bit taller, and you can kind of see that in here as well too, because the work platform in the background is much higher than where the entrance to the common dome is. I think it's is it on this ring or is it on the one above it?
The top
I think
one.
it's on this one.
It's on the top one.
Okay, yeah. So once this is sitting on top of the actual thrust section, this will be at the same height of the actual platform. And the interesting thing about these platforms is I no longer think that these are going all the way to the stairway, which is interesting. This almost looks like this one ends right here. And so if that's the case, then these are only accessible by the elevator. And that's going to be interesting, because that would also mean that they're only able to fully stack boosters, or once boosters are fully stacked, they'll move to the back. So they'll do all of these operations in the front and move it in the back after it's fully stacked, and then start over again in the front, which kind of makes sense, other than the fact that you have to, then move the completed booster through the middle past everything else. So
Yeah.
are there any changes with Booster 9 that you've noticed so far?
On the parts that have been put together, it's been fairly minor stuff. There are some changes, but it just seems like making some things lighter or simpler. Nothing too major, but we'll have to see. It's not finished yet. It still needs the thrust section. We know that the thrust section will be using a slightly revised design of the thrust puck. They changed that up ever so slightly. So it'll be interesting to see. Definitely be interesting to see.
They're making moves on it a lot, right? So when they did this most recent stack, I believe it was this section right here underneath, right?
Well,
plus the actual tank that they lifted up at the same time.
Figure out. It might be the weld that they're all up at right there, because the turntable's sitting up really high. So they probably stacked it about a small handful of hours before Mauricio showed up.
For this picture?
Yeah. So, and that looks welded, but it should, if you count the section, that it's 20. You can see 20 rings, I think, in that photo, and it was stacked to be 20 high. So it's kind of confusing, because that looks like it's welded, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought they stacked this 3 days ago.
They did, and then they did it again yesterday.
Again?
They're moving fast.
So they had to put 2 different ring sections underneath it?
Yeah, so they stacked one 4-ring on a few days ago, then they stacked another 4-ring section yesterday.
And so the second time, did they lift the whole thing off over the other ring section, attach the ring section below it, and then lift it back on the same exact way?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it's they seem to like that method now, and they're able to get that thing tied to the other section within 20 minutes, is what we saw the other day. If they're doing that, yeah, I'm on board with this. This thing, they're moving really fast, and I love it.
Awesome. I didn't realize it happened twice, actually. So
yeah.
So I was running through a list of everything SpaceX has done in the last week, and comparing it to the SLS program. And SLS just fixed one leaky seal, and then there's about 20 different items for SpaceX. It's just no comparison.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy how quickly they're moving. I mean, I wish that we were seeing as much progress. Well, to some degree we are at the launch site, but as far as actual progress with testing, we're getting there. I mean, we have seen a few static fires. Most notably, in my opinion, I would say is Ship 24's was probably the most exciting. But yeah, I think we're getting close. We had a 7-engine spin prime on booster 7 the other day, so hopefully the next step is a 7-engine static fire, and that should top the Ship 24 test, I think.
So following the Ship 24 static fire, they started supporting it, and they've started attaching a stand to the payload, which I haven't actually seen yet. I hope we got a picture of that.
Yeah, it's like way ahead. We'll get there.
Okay. Well, I'll save that for then.
Cool.
Well, one other thing to point out real quick is that the production is where SpaceX really wants to be at. If they want to scrap booster 7 or 8 for any reasons, that should be an option because they want to be hardware rich. They want to be able to go through and build these as quickly and agilely as is possible. Where, yes, the launch site, we like to see the flamey end of the business, where this is the business. This is how they're going to make Mars colonizable is the production side. So that's kind of the really exciting point is they're stacking these things so quickly that you pointed out. And Elon, he mentioned on, I believe it was Jay Leno's show. I think it was back in July. And this is the same thing he's repeated several times, but he wants 3 ships, or a ship every 3 days. So that is a huge number of ships that he wants to be building.
Well, if you look at these pictures, it kind of looks like they're very serious about that. But actually, I'll take that back. So this is a little deceiving, in my opinion, what we're seeing out here. It kind of relates to what you're saying as far as just the general rate that they're moving at. But, having this many domes out here is kind of rare, I would say. But especially having multiple thrust domes for starships. But the interesting thing about this is seeing this outside incomplete, I think. Usually we don't actually see them until they've had all of this stuff welded onto them. And I don't even think these are finished yet, right?
The one on the left might be. The one on the right definitely isn't.
Yeah, so seeing it outside like this is a sign that they're probably preparing to move them all over to the Star Factory, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. And they've been moving a lot over there within the past week. There's probably 3, 4, 5 ring sections in there now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's getting.
I did not know that. I think we have a small. No, this is not it. We'll come back to that. Where's the view where we can see inside of it? I don't think that's the one we want.
Well, you can see a couple of ring sections there.
In here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't even see those.
So one there, and then one directly to the left. Yeah. It's just, you can see it out the corner of the doorway. So...
Oh, right here. Is that it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
That's deceiving how the aisle slants backwards from this angle.
Yeah, we're not sure exactly what those are because we didn't see those move in. So it begs the question of, has Star Factory started producing rings already? And it's something to consider because these things we did not see move in.
Interesting. So one of the other cool things about this is with that being so far over in the corner, it almost looks like a whole nother section could fit next to it.
Probably.
I guess that makes sense. You'd need to be able to push them all over to one side so that you can slide them all up the aisle and move them. But yeah, it's pretty impressive to see exactly how wide those aisles are. I mean, if they were actually moving everything ahead, zigzagging it through the production stages, they probably really could fit 10 ring sections in each of these aisles, I guess you could call them.
Yeah, and this is only a quarter of the Star Factory. It's going to be insane once this thing is online.
One thing to consider is not just how many it can hold at once, but how quickly it can move them through. So having space that allows 20 rings to go in and out a day versus having the ability to store 50 rings but only have 5 come out a day, you're better off just with your production rate rather than your storage area. But space allows you to find new efficiencies.
If you go one photo, it's one photo to the left of the dome yard ones in your list. Yeah, there. Now, Mauricio got a shot inside of tent 1, and that looks to be Booster 9's thrust section, sitting out there in the doorway. Now, what was quite interesting, and I want to see your guys' opinions on this, you can see the mounts for the small chines in between the external stringers on the bottom. See those? Now, if we were looking at this, we'd probably see the QD on one side, and if we didn't see the QD, wouldn't we see HPUs or something on that left side?
Are you trying to say that they haven't installed it yet, or that they're not going to be there?
I don't know. It's definitely possible that they haven't been installed yet, but if they haven't been installed yet, it's kind of scary how slow they're working on this thing. Because this thing has been inside for months. And
then the lock section is getting stacked pretty quickly, right? So it almost seems like they're trying to get it fully stacked like quickly, you know. And if they're not making progress on this, is it possible that this is actually Booster 10s?
I mean, that went inside a while ago. We haven't seen it. I'm not going to count that out. It might be. This does have the Locksetter tank in it, because if you just scroll right, if you go right above the ring section, if you zoom in just above it, you can see a piece of scaffolding sticking off the edge. That's on the Locksetter tank. I think so. So if this is Booster 9's, something's either different with it, or it's behind, or if it's Booster 10's, they're working nice and ahead with it, and it's fun. It's nice. Yay. We'll find out in time.
I think we had a few questions in the chat related to Booster 9.
Let's do it.
We do, actually. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. The first question about Booster 9 is, it's actually about Ship 27, if I can ask that one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Or actually, here's the Booster 9 question. Stephanie V asks, is the downcomer in B9?
Not yet, no, but that is up next. That's once that's welded, they'll put the downcomer in.
Stephanie also asks, could Ship 27 nose could Ship 27 nose payload barrel be just for the test cage?
Now that's definitely a question that I've had come up. And
the heck is that?
Looks like a Harley Davidson motorcycle rider, but he's missing the rest of his body.
I think they call those ape hangers.
That's so random.
Why? What is going on?
They're getting ready for Halloween.
Okay. Halloween at Starbase must be pretty fun.
Didn't they have a skeleton hung up over at the launch site?
I have not seen it yet. I'll have to check that out. Sorry for interrupting, Jax. I kind of got caught off guard by that. And sorry, that was actually Indy who was asking the question.
Grandpa Joe's point, they did have that scarecrow for the grackles, I think, to keep the birds away.
No way, did they?
Yeah. More questions. So John Dopker asks, is the steel they're using the same as it's always been? Not meaning the thickness, just for more refined, polished, it seems shinier, when you were talking about the shiny ship.
They've been using 304L for a while now, I think. I don't think we've seen anything suggesting that's changed.
Well, it has changed. They're using a 304L derivative. It's 30X is what they call it.
Have they switched over to that, though, or is it just in development still?
No, it's there. Every 304L stainless steel that they get in, it is marked SpaceX, and will be 30X on some of the labels. It's been doing that for some time. So they're getting it manufactured to a particular specification. It's 304L, or at least a derivative of it.
Well, that's quite interesting. I didn't know that.
We also have a bunch of donations. Sorry, Jaxie, you want to finish your thought? My apologies.
Well, I was just going to go back to the question. We had a question about using that nose cone inside of the cage, and I do want to address that. It's a thing that many people have brought up. I don't think it will. That's my speculation. If it was going to, we likely would have seen the tip cut off, all of that happen back over by the tents, and the payload bay that a label has confirmed it's due to go with does have things like header tank pressurization lines, downcomers for the header tanks, which aren't usually things that you'd need for a test article like this.
This is the header tank weld right here, right?
It's a little bit lower down. It's there.
Right here?
Yeah.
That's like though both of those are welds for the header tank because both of those are the header tank.
That's where the tip gets welded on. It's just
Yeah.
a rough looking weld. That lower weld is your LOX header tank. Then the welds for the methane header tank aren't visible externally.
Interesting. It's higher up, right?
The methane one?
Yeah.
Methane one hangs below.
Okay. Right.
So it hangs below those load points.
Like in here, right?
Even lower.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's definitely something.
Indy, did you want to go ahead and touch on those donations?
Sure. We have a bunch of donations, actually. 55 Chevy Guy starts off the donation train with a $10 donation. Jim Cavett follows up with a $5 donation. Pumpkin comes in, and Pumpkin is Jacqueline, comes in with 10 euros. She says she'll hop on. Andrew comes in with £5. Sharpie comes in with another £5 for fuel costs. Choo Choo. Rocket Profit with $10 coming in with Choo Choo. Yazada with another $10. Thank you for these photos and shows, Mauricio. Cosmic comes in with $5. He says he's broke, but he hopes this helps, and thank you, RGV. And then Bash Coder comes in with $9.99, bringing up the end of the train. Thank you all so much.
All right. And with that, if you guys have not hit the like button yet, please go ahead and do that for us. We really appreciate all of you for being here. It looks like there's about 650 of you in here today right now. So thank you all for being here with us on a Sunday. And again, to those of you who joined late, sorry we missed yesterday's stream. We were trying to, fit in a flyover, but weren't able to do that. So we had to move the stream to today and are only covering ground pictures. So again, thank you guys for being here with us. Even though there's no aerials, there's still lots of stuff to cover. So with that, we'll continue on. Jax, was there anything else you wanted to say about this nose cone ring before we continue on?
No, that nose cone can go die.
Oh, wow. I did see somebody ask, why are they putting the pins on if they're not going to attach the tiles? But these tiles were actually attached, right?
Yeah, this nose cone.
Yeah, it did have them attached.
At one time, this nose cone was tiled, and you zoomed in on the tip earlier. You can actually see some old residue from the tiles up there.
So this is a case of SpaceX
right
completely changing the plan in the middle.
Yeah. So yeah, the newest sections, like the brand new things, those don't have pins. But these older kind of the plan changed, reassigned type things, those have pins. I don't know how I feel about it. This is a weird nose cone, but
I mean, it does look kind of cool in a way.
It looks like something.
Yeah, don't know if cool is the word for it, but so what do we have over here in the mid bay? Is this the mid bay?
Oh, it's windbreak.
Windbreak. All right, nothing in the windbreak. I think we can see underneath the doorway right here of the Star Factory. So we have, I think this is a Starship aft section.
There you go. Good job.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know which number that is. Star Factory is going to be terrible to track, and it's only a weekend. But that is a ship aft section sitting in there.
Is that the only thing back there, or is there another?
That's all I could see when I looked at it earlier, but
Yeah, interesting that they even have that door open at all, actually.
Yeah.
Do you see anything else from maybe this little sliver of... No. Nothing. Ah, man, this really sucks. Not being able to see in there. So what else do we have? Let's keep moving forward. We have... I don't think we touched on this one yet. This is... Or wait, we did.
That's a new one. Once with all the new weirdness in the assignments, I'm not going to give it a number, but this is the 8th 5-ring section that they've made since after SN9. It's going to be a payload bay. Originally, we think it was for ship 28, but who knows anymore? Yeah, it's nice looking. So I don't know what to say. The payload bays are terrible to track right now, so there's not much to say about them.
Too many of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't envy you. I wanted to show the top of the Mega Bay from the backside, just so that we could see the windows that are sitting there waiting to be installed. And I think we can.
That drone shot was pretty nice too.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, we have the windows up here waiting to be installed. Still no movement on that yet. Assuming that's going to happen pretty much any day now. But yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is with that. I think I said this before, but it may have something to do with wanting to have the HVAC system activated before they start doing that. So at the same time, it is such a large open space that maybe that won't be a huge deal, especially as long as they have a few windows not installed. They probably will have pretty good airflow. So yeah, guess we'll probably see that here happening soon. But yeah, pretty much all of the windows are already up there. So it is nearing that time. I'm not sure if there's anything else at the build site that we should touch on, or if it's a good time to go over to the launch site.
I think we're good to move on.
Cool. Well, we might as well stick with starships and talk about Ship 24, which is getting some work on it, as you guys can see. What are they doing here, Jax?
Yeah, this is quite a strange one. A few days ago, I think it was a few days ago, they set up the scaffolding just below the payload bay door. And since then, I don't know if it's of concern or not, but they've added like these plate doublers around the entire door.
It's like this, right? But on the inside?
Though it's all external. Yeah.
Is that the plate?
It's this plate. It slides through the gaps in the external stringers. So
underneath it?
Yeah. And then it continues all the way around the entire door. So they definitely saw a need for it to be stiffened up. I don't know why it happened so suddenly. I don't know if it's of concern that it happened right after the static fire, but it's something to keep an eye on. He actually caught them welding it properly on, which was kind of cool. That guy on the right.
So you said it slides up in here?
Pardon me?
It slides up into
yeah, the door slides upwards.
But the
if during
is it inside?
No, what they're installing is external.
Oh wait, I can't really see it.
It's this plate. You notice how there's just above the door. It's this plate.
It's just a flat plate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's surrounding the entire door, and they're just strengthening up the entire thing for some reason out of nowhere.
Perhaps they lost air pressure when they were doing the static fire. Or it might have been planned for a minute.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if they do add any more strengthening pieces. And I don't know if it's concerning that this door they have to strengthen it up, and on the newer ones they removed like half of the stiffeners. We'll see what they do with Shift 25's payload bay. Yeah, excitement is guaranteed.
That's That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting if it was some structural damage. I didn't really consider that, but yeah, very weird for that to be added right now after that static fire test.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen them start to add this on 25 yet, have we?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, I'm assuming that'll probably come next. And this is one of those things that would probably be better done on the ground, I'm sure. So, yeah, that it definitely seems like a reaction to something. And yeah, I mean, that's such a small amount of steel to add there.
Yeah, it's
Increased strength.
It is really strange.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say on that one. So continuing on, well, actually, do we have any questions related to this? Sure, there may be some.
There are a couple. Sorry. There are a couple. Sorry.
You're fine.
All right.
Kind of put you on the spot there.
So John Dopker asks, his little one, Victoria, wants to know how big Starship is, mass, volume, etc. They live right next to the giant grain silos, and we're wondering if they could do a comparison in size. That doesn't have what we're doing with, but sorry.
Well, it's the Starship itself is 140 feet tall, which is about the size of a 14-story tall building. The payload bay has about 1,000 square I'm sorry, is it feet or meters? But it's about roughly about the size of a house inside of there that you could walk around in, like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Just in the part where the people would go, or where the payload would go. The rest of the ship is obviously huge, much larger. Sorry, I don't have the facts in front of me. I want to say it's 1,200-ish metric tons of propellant. So this thing carries a lot of weight. And yeah, heck of a big vessel. Way bigger than anything else that's ever been built.
Stephanie asked, does the payload door end up flush?
No, it the way you see it now is closed.
A little recessed.
Yeah.
And then Ken Baird wants to confirm, did you say the Mega Bay is larger than the VAB?
No, opposite. The VAB is quite a bit larger than the Mega Bay.
55 Chevy Guy Steve asks, what's your opinion as to why the E-Dome wasn't tested?
Not the slightest clue. That thing is certainly something.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. Like, I mean, it was out there. Test it.
Yeah. It's so strange. I almost wonder if it's because they revised the design of the E-Domes, and like E-Dome, the test tank would have been useless. But there is nothing to support that, and it's just kind of a guess.
Yeah, they didn't even do. Did they even do an ambient test?
It was never hooked into anything.
Weird that they even brought it down and then brought it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's one of the things with moving as fast as SpaceX does, is that they will often make mistakes and just do something that was fruitless and then turn around and take it all back.
100%.
That's kind of it for the questions. The rest are lots of opinions.
All right. Well, I guess we can continue on. We will cover what's new with the launch mount. We have had quite a bit of new things happen with the launch mount after the last spin prime test. Sorry, kind of forgot. I was going to call it a cryo test right there, but after the last spin prime test. So one of the interesting things that I noticed, and I'm sure a lot of you did as well, was a new vent that was happening at the bottom of I guess the bottom of the deck, underneath the walkway. And so zooming in right here, we can kind of see where it was coming from. So there's 2 little bullnose nozzles on the end of this, and it was pretty much coming out of. I couldn't tell if it was coming out of both sides of both of them. I believe if it was, then they would have collided together, and we would have seen one of them go, or a reaction as they interact with each other. But it kind of, to me, looked like it was coming out of one side on one and the other side on the other. But yeah, just an interesting observation from that test, because I know a lot of people were curious what exactly was happening right there. But beyond that, we also saw some new venting from a weird location on the launch mount, which was actually okay. I'm not sure if we can see it from this angle. It should be right up in here, or maybe I'm not looking in the right spot. Let me get us a little bit further over. That's not going to do it. I feel like I should be able to see it right there. This'll do it for us. So on top of the launch mount, there was venting coming from another location as well, which was these 3 pipes right here. Very, very odd. They actually appeared to go down over the edge and curve down into what I believe is, if it goes straight down from right here, then this is where the clamp is. The hold down clamp is actually in between these walls. So it looks like it goes straight down there, which is weird. And we don't see it anywhere else on the launch mount, so not really sure what that's about yet, but just another observation of how every single time they do these tests, something is different. And yeah, we are going to have to wait and see if more of those appear, or if that's the only one. It kind of seems like they're testing something, but not really 100% sure what that could be.
I love that they just have random pipes just slung over the side.
Random pipe, tons of them actually. That's not the only ones. We have. Let's go back to this picture. We have a few random pipes that have appeared on the booster. Wait, are they on this side?
Hey, while you're going through, I was going to ask you if there's any new cover-ups where they've shielded the ship, if you could point those out. Because if they're going towards a launch, it would be, in my mind, that they would add new protection and new covers.
Well, had a feeling that was going to happen. Here we go. I think this might be the image we're looking for. Possibly. Nope. I may have already passed it.
Look at all these wonderful pictures. Hey, if you're not a Patreon of Mauricio, so you can get all of these pictures, please consider subscribing YouTube, Patreon, etc., just so you can get to see all this.
Mind you, there were 399 images in this last batch. Sorry, Zach.
Whoa.
Where is this image? There's so many of the launch mount, it's kind of hard to find. We're just going to have to get there when we get there, because I don't want to search through all of these. But it'll come up here soon enough.
I'm sorry if you've already seen it. I just noticed on the last one, the new yellow box.
Yeah, so there's several new boxes on the table. I think we're going to have to work from this side all the way around, or else we'll end up skipping over a lot of images. Let me just try and see if I could find that new pipe that was up here, because there was one coming out of the stringers.
Yeah, it's third stringer from the left, or third from the right. Sorry.
Was it visible in that image?
From the small chine. Yeah.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Random pipe that got added onto the booster. No idea what it is. But it goes straight down the stringer, and we have no idea where it goes. It could go to one of the engines, but we're really just not sure. Again, that area right there would be in between two of the clamps, in between one of the clamps, or directly above it, actually. So very, very odd to see that there. And I think there's more on the opposite side. But yeah, I mean, tons of new. It's just crazy how they never really stop adding stuff onto this launch mount. I'm really wondering how they're as far ahead as they are on the second one, considering the things that they are still changing on this. One of the other things to address while we're down here is the water pipe assembly, which appears to be mostly complete now. Kind of. Well, we don't really know if they've finished the nitrogen part. So this is definitely a water line that's coming down. This right here is more than likely a gaseous nitrogen nozzle. And so there's a few questions regarding this, if it's going to actually be active at the same time, like if it's diverting the flow somehow. But there is a possibility that it's like a one or the other type thing, where you're putting a curtain of nitrogen gas down in between the legs, or you're spraying a whole bunch of water up there to try and put out a fire or something like that. I mean, there's also a possibility that they have 3 modes of operation where it's one or the other or both. So we're going to have to wait until they actually test it out to see it. But as far as, the possibilities of it being used for other things, it could also be CO2 gas, but the thing is that there's really nothing else back there that it could connect to that would allow it to be anything like liquid. So, there's not really any chances that this is like liquid nitrogen, which in my opinion, actually does make a little more sense. Like a lot of us have seen what the reaction is when you have liquid nitrogen on top of water, and that kind of creates a huge cloud, which would neutralize a lot of the, or essentially dilute the explosive, I guess we call it MOX, which is methane oxygen mixture underneath here. It does make sense, but that is just not the way the launch mount is set up. So there's no liquid nitrogen supply. The only way to get liquid nitrogen to the launch mount is by using the main supply line for oxygen or methane. You would have to stop sending oxygen or methane and then switch over to nitrogen, which would require you to purge the entire line out, reprime it with nitrogen, and just for this system. And that's just not how this launch mount works. So this can only be a gas. There's only 2 liquid lines being supplied to the entire launch mount. Unless you count the water ones, there's 3. So continuing on, we have some other interesting things out in front of the tank farm, since we're going to have to see that before we get to the other side of the launch mount. We still have this methane pump, or the motor for it, sitting out front. Whoa. That is crazy, being able to see the QD from this far away. I think it's super tall.
It sees you too.
So we still have that methane pump sitting outside. I don't see the actual... Oh, wait. Okay, no, I don't see the pump in the ground right now. Is it on the...
There was a pump out there the other day.
Should be on a pellet to the
Yeah,
right.
there
Is
it
it
is. Just yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the water pump that they use to fill up the water tanks. But this is the actual methane pump behind it. So continuing on, I don't know if we can see the... Oh, I don't think we have a view looking up at the scaffolding in here this week. Maybe we'll get one next week. It's really fun always to see what the scaffolding looks like inside of there. We're almost moving around. Sorry, I'm trying to get us to the other side of the launch mount without skipping over 100 pictures. So, Grandpa Joe, you mentioned the yellow control box. I believe that's this one right here they're referring to.
Yeah, he just stepped away for a few minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this was the control box that Grandpa Joe was referring to. There's also a few new control panels on the bottom down here, which we are still ironing out the purpose of. But, I mean, overall, it's just crazy how much this launch mount is still developing. Being this far into the process where we're kind of expecting them to be nearing launch mode, they're still adding things on to the actual mount itself. And I am going to now have to find this picture because it's bothering me.
So Alex Rex keeps asking the same question. It's a very important question to him, and it's one of your favorites, Zach. He wants to know, will the claw return to the ship QD at the OLIT?
No. Nope. It will not.
There you go, Alex. You heard it first.
This picture shows it decent enough. I know there's a better one, but let me just check a few more. And then if not, then I will just show you guys anyways. Yeah, we'll just use this picture. So right here, you guys can see them lifting in this plate. which is interesting. I am not going to go too far into the actual placement of it, but essentially what they're doing is closing in the inside of the launch mount, which will stop. Well, they're not fully closing it in. They're basically adding blast protection. This is really interesting to me, and the reason I don't want to go too deep into it right now is because it blows my mind. Well, I don't think I would have paid attention to this had Elon not really responded to the tweet that I sent out related to the orbital launch mount. And in response to it, he mentioned that they're putting in a lot of work to actually protect the inside of the launch mount from explosions. So basically, this is a part of that. They're adding in shielding in order to prevent explosions from entering the inside of the launch mount. And it's interesting because they're doing that on the inside of it, and we still have all these open holes on the outside. So, right now, I think they're about 3/4 of the way through this. So this is basically the main reason why we haven't seen static fires right now, in my opinion, is because they're getting all of this shielding installed. So they're about 3/4 of the way through it. They've been doing this for about 2 to 3 weeks now. So we probably have another week left of them doing this, but it's more than what's visible right here. So we have seen them lift a very large amount of these in here already. And there are also, you can see these guys down here. There's also parts being hand carried into here as well too. So it's not just what we can actually see on the outside. There's a ton going on the inside as well too. And until they get that stuff done, I have a feeling they're not trying to risk another static fire. So, that's basically my reasoning why they have been doing so many spin primes. They're also, verifying the procedures. So, during the last spin prime, it's possible that they could be testing using, we never know if they're using the COPVs or if they're using the launch mount during the startup of the center engines. So they could be going back and forth between both of those options. Just getting to learn the actual booster, getting to learn the launch mount, just practicing those procedures, and also stalling for time to some degree while they upgrade all of this shielding, because it's super important that they do that, and they're not playing around with when it comes to it. They've even added another.
So they can't blame the FAA anymore?
No. It's going to be, right now, this is hardware readiness, in my opinion. I don't know if we got a really good shot of the backside of it. I think we do.
Oh, real quick, while I'm mentioning that, on my Twitter, Grandpa Joe 42, I posted a spreadsheet of all of the Fonzie articles, and if anybody has any updates for those, just reply and let me know. I'll add them to the tracker there.
Oh, man. So, no idea what these are for yet, but these control boxes right here were installed the other day. So, whatever it is that they're upgrading, there's a whole nother electrical power system that they're adding in here for something, which we have no idea what that is yet. But beyond that, there are the nozzles the actual valves that control the water right here. So these valves that control the water flow, if it goes, if they close this, then it goes up the other side. And if they close that one, then it goes to the outside of the table. There's two water systems. There's the one right here. So this valve controls these water outlets, and this valve actuates these water outlets. So it's really interesting to see all this setup. I mean, you can see the pneumatic actuation lines for these valves, and so they had to also add corresponding control panels for those up here. And yeah, all of this down here is new as well too. It just never stops. It's really crazy to see the progress on this, and it also just further makes me wonder if it was even possible for Booster 4 to ever do static fires, like ever. And I'm starting to get the feeling. I was talking to Ryan Hansen Space last night that, it seems to me like SpaceX kind of got forced to change over to the Raptor 2, like not just because they, had stopped production on Raptor 1 and then they, all of a sudden didn't have any extras. I feel like it's more related to the actual ability to launch it and knowing what would happen if they, for example, still had the igniter in the main combustion chamber, then they would still be doing pre-burner tests. And if you were doing a pre-burner test with that booster on this launch mount, I feel like we all know that would probably not go very well at all. So I feel like the actual change from Raptor 1 to Raptor 2 may have been like forced on them just off of the pure realization that like we have a major like explosive capacity here when we do these pre-burner tests. But I don't know your guys' opinion on that. Sorry for that kind of long rant. We've been thinking about this for a while, and that's kind of what it seems like to us right now.
With the Raptor 1 and Raptor 2, there have been a number of tests in the very controlled environment at the McGregor test facility. Integrating that into the booster and into the orbital launch mount, they're almost recreating that whole facility, partially on the launch mount, partially on the booster. So in my mind, it's the engine is vital and important to the operation, obviously, but it's just as much the ship and the mount that have to be tuned just right so you don't screw all that up and blow it up.
I want to reiterate what you just said so that everybody fully understands it. Basically, this launch mount is 33 of the horizontal test stands. 33 of the vertical test stands at McGregor combined into one. That's what this is.
Yeah. Gosh, when you put it like that, it's even more complicated than I was thinking.
Yeah. It's pretty intense. And also super impressive. I really, this is why I talk about the launch mount so much, because it's the most evolving thing on the site and also the most critical to the entire program, in my opinion. Even more important than the actual manufacturing facility. So, it doesn't really matter how fast you're building boosters if they can't launch them. So that's why I feel that way. But
doubt.
Do we have any?
Yes, we do.
Go ahead.
So Todd Burnell asks, could all the changes on the OLM be why we haven't seen the KSC OLM yet? They may be waiting to see how they can improve it here in Boca Chica from the changes they made at suborbital. Sorry, at Starbase, not suborbital. Starbase.
Well, I feel like the number one, I'm not sure if they've finished pouring concrete in the legs of the second launch mount. So they have started. They started a long time ago, but we don't know if they've actually finished yet. We also don't 100% know that there won't be extensions on it, even though it currently looks like there won't be. I don't know if we have the images available showing the current progress on that. We might as well talk about it.
So if the new tower is 469 feet tall and the booster and ship are about 400 feet tall and the mount's about 60 feet tall, all added up, that seems about right. So it doesn't, the legs at KSE, I think, are right at 60 feet now. So I don't think you could put leg extensions on there without going over the top of the tower.
So I finally found the image. Excuse me.
See, I was just talking there to buy time, stalling like SpaceX.
So this is what the launch mount looks right now. And you can actually see the residual concrete coming out of these holes. So it looks like they've have multiple holes inside of the legs so that they can pour levels of concrete one at a time. So they probably did this first one a few months ago, and then they did the second one. And we don't know if they filled it all the way up to the top yet. But they have added these vertical supports on here, which don't exist on the first launch mount. There's a few different theories on what this could be for. I do think that it's possible that the actual launch mount skirt will slide down on top of these, but more likely, I think we might see the massive, what I believe is water deluge ring potentially. I don't know if it fits in here, but if it does, it may go on the inside. I honestly thought it would go on the outside because of how large it looks, but there is a possibility that it could sit on the inside. So lots of different possibilities here. But to get back to answering that question, yeah, I mean, it's concerning to me that they would be making that much progress while they're still trying to figure out the first one. But to some degree, they already know a lot of the issues that they had, and they're really just like trying to they're trying to work with what they have at Starbase. Whereas, you know, at the Florida facility, it may already be optimized for the things that they're trying to jerry rig here. And yeah, I hate to call it jerry rigging, but it does feel like that just a little bit.
I was looking up some dates earlier, and they started pouring the concrete for the tower at KSC in March. The first tower segment went in June, and the last tower segment went in last week. Crazy. I mean, that is just lightning fast progress there.
Yeah.
Seriously. And the launch table is being built out at Robert Rhodes allegedly. So yeah, a lot of progress expected there. So I hope they drag that thing out soon so we can watch it being built like this one. But I know I'm sure the guys building it sure are thankful that they're doing it in a nice climate controlled environment.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, there's one thing I want to cover really quick. So I mentioned at the beginning of the show, today is going to be a little bit shorter just because we do not have aerials to cover. So as we get near the end of the show, there is one really big thing that I wanted to cover. And that is related to Ship 24's static fire. So I don't know if you guys... Well, number one, I have a video coming out later today that kind of goes in depth on all of the damage that occurred during that static fire. You know, we kind of touched on it last week, but for those of you who didn't catch that, don't worry because we'll have an in-depth analysis coming out hopefully later today. But one of the things that happened down here was that the actual cameras for the underneath the bottom of the launch mount, or sorry, the bottom of the test stand were actually destroyed. So they basically were blown off of the actual mounts that they were on top of. And let me see if I'm scrolling for a better view here. So
and Jax, you should find one from 2 weeks ago whenever you could see the cameras in action.
Yeah, it's a good video.
Good point.
I'll pull one up right now.
Yeah, so the cameras were actually mounted, I believe down here. This was one mounting position for these cameras. You can see the wire for another one right here. And then the third one, I believe the mount was right there.
Explosion-proof cameras, but not explosion-proof mounts, apparently.
Yeah. So, you know, these got blown off of the actual, the mounts that they were on top of. And this week, as Mauricio was going to take all of these pictures for the episode, he, was, walking around in the grassland area and happened to trip over some objects and, being the responsible adult that he is, picked them up. And, you don't want to leave trash out there. So I'll let Mauricio tell the rest of the story. But this is one thing that he found out there, which I'm about to show you guys here.
Yeah, so the story behind that is I was it was just a normal day at Starbase and, typical day taking photos, and I stumbled upon this piece here. Didn't know what it was. I was picking up other material that was left out in picking up trash, in other words. Didn't actually find out what it was till after the fact as I was heading home. So, just wanted to let you guys know this was picked up on public property, about 30 to 50 feet away from the actual property line of SpaceX, or about 140 to 150 meters away from the actual S-24 or Pad B. And so yeah, this is what I found, and I sent it to Zach and Jackson. they pretty much confirmed that what it was, and it looks like it is one of those cameras.
By the way, I was just looking up the laws of salvage of ships, and I believe this falls under flotsam, which is goods retrieved from a sunken vessel that were bodily cast overboard. So by the law of the sea, you're in the clear.
Oh yeah, and I just wanted to throw it out there because I know this could be one of those great, what's it called, delicate subjects or to talk about. But if SpaceX wants it back, I mean, they can just contact me. Again, we don't know if it belongs to them until after the fact. We had to do investigation on what exactly this was, and if they can confirm it's theirs, we're more than happy to send it back to them,
Yeah, and every time I go out there on the dunes, I'm always picking up all the trash I see just to keep the area clear and do my part. So thank you for doing that. Keeping it clean.
Yeah, and if SpaceX happens to be watching this and do end up contacting Mauricio, we should also let them know that the invite still exists for Elon to join us on the show. If he would like to talk about some of the damage that occurred during the Ship 24 static fire and, I guess some of the lessons that they've learned from it, that would be really awesome. I think the audience would love to hear some of those battle stories, I guess you could call it, the growing pains that SpaceX goes through as they're, developing this brand new rocket that is way larger than anything that's ever come before it. So, yeah.
Stands. As far as invites go, don't you have a new friend who's a bit of a rocket expert we could invite as well? Jeff?
No.
Somebody.
No comment.
He's invited too.
One of the things I did want to say about the camera is that it weighed 6 pounds or just about 2 kilograms, and it's pretty heavy. It feels a lot heavier than what it is, but just to think that something got blown off 140, 150 meters away from this location all the way to the south side of the launch site, it's just, I just can't imagine the force behind all that, And
it's tough to see it right here because it's behind this pillar, but excuse me. Wow, sorry about that. I'm getting a little sick here today. The camera that was that we believe it was on this leg right here. So this is directly underneath one of the RVACs. Oh wait, so the two RVACs. There's one RVAC right here, and then there's one on the other side, and then there's one in the front. So this one is directly underneath one of the RVACs, and so is, literally all of the cameras are directly underneath RVAC engines. So I blame the RVACs for this. But yeah, definitely really interesting to actually be able to see what the results of that were. And I mean, it looks like we said, the camera actually survived to some degree, and this may just be the outside casing that kind of got damaged. But yeah, definitely a great find. And also, thank you, Mauricio, to keeping the area out there clean. I'm a little bit surprised that, they haven't gone out there to just do a little sweep. But, with so much going on out there, I guess that's what we're here for.
Team effort, team space.
Team effort. So with that, I want to make sure that we cover any remaining super chats and or questions. And also, in case Thomas or Grandpa Joe or, Indy, all of us, any of you have any more questions as well, too, or anything you wanted to touch on, we are reaching the end of the show, so I wanted to cover all of that.
There's a super chat from Don Borland. Sorry, I messed up your last name, my friend. He was able to donate $20 and says the pics of 25 in high bay show welded supports starting and spacing. It's different on left and right supports. So he's just pointing something out that he noted in high bay. And then we have 6 or 7 questions, all about different things, but mostly of the last things we've talked about. The Fisco one asks, what plates did SpaceX install in the OLM before the last spin prime test?
Well, let me get to, where did that high bay picture go? Am I crazy?
Yeah,
I mean, yes, but yeah. That's separate from this.
Yeah. You want to answer that question?
Oh, here we go. Not
So
much that we can fully see from here, but I'll let Jax handle this one.
the big thing that people will have noticed is the 3 long external stringers that run on either side of the payload door aren't there on ship 25. It's just a small little piece. So they definitely tried to remove some mass from this one. We'll have to see if, I don't know, now that they seem to be stiffening up even ship 24s, we'll have to see what they do with this one, how they handle it. It'll be quite interesting to see.
Yeah, is there any chance that there's more internal supports on this one?
From what I've seen from the flyovers, there are less.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. All right, and Andy's other question. Sorry, can you repeat it one more time?
No.
You lost it?
I did. I moved it off the screen. My apologies. I do have more
I
questions.
think it was
though.
related to the plates on the launch mount.
Oh, that was it. Yes.
I don't remember exactly what the
Oh.
question was, though.
That's right. The Fisco one said you already answered his plate question, so we're good on that one.
Okay, cool.
So Rambo asked, could the reason for so many spin primes be from using the header tank as well?
Yeah, I think we answered that one. That's definitely a possibility that they're switching back and forth between the launch mount and the header tank, but also I feel like it makes more sense that they would be using the launch mount for everything right now because that is what they're trying to dial in. But they do need to test both systems.
Fair enough. Scat 1975 asks, do we think the new water system flex hoses will be replaced with solid pipe?
Oh, good question. Well, I mean, if we look at the way that this is secured down here, it's interesting. This isn't the first time that they've used these hangers like this. These actually exist inside of the launch tower as well too. So it's not like they can't be permanent. The difference between the ones in the launch mount or in the launch tower is that they don't get exposed to 33 engines or 500,000 pounds worth of thrust coming from the bottom of this. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and for the sake of time, I feel like they probably installed the flex hoses while they actually manufacture or bend all of the pipes that they need in order to make permanent joints. Like they probably started off with these, just the actual nozzles, and then probably still inside of the fabrication shop working on the permanent solution, if there is a permanent solution. And I should add that I do hope there is one because it looks kind of sketchy. But yeah.
Everything's starting to look sketchy at this point.
True.
It's all right. Sketchy's the name of the game around here.
Hey.
Until it doesn't work.
Do we have another question?
Yes. Crane Man and Nile ask, can you explain the new strobe lights on the tower?
Yeah, so I did tweet about this yesterday, and that information came from Mr. Dave Avery, so thank you, Dave. So basically, oh man, where are they located? I think there's one right here. This is one of the green ones that also turns red. There's another green one, green. I don't know where the strobes are, but they should be
to the right side of the tower. So the strobe would be on the right side. We won't be able to see it from here.
Okay.
You'd also see them at the very top of the tower.
You know what? I can show the tweet. So sitting here trying to do things the hard way. So let me grab this really quick in the background. All right. So essentially, these right here in this video, you can see them blinking pretty brightly. And as Dave said, these are Type D medium intensity lights. And so they're basically meant to be visible by both the naked eye, obviously, and also to wearers of night vision goggles. So I guess military grade night vision goggles would not be able to see this light. So they also have to have an infrared spectrum to allow them to be seen at night by essentially Air Force pilots. But yeah, I think it looks really cool. The There is another strobe going on down here, and I can't really tell you where that's coming from. I'm sure somebody else might know.
Mexico. It's
Mexico.
Yeah, that's the lighthouse.
Okay.
So it's rotating. These are strobing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think I've ever noticed it before, but it's probably because it's a little more zoomed in like this normally. But yeah. So was that the end of the questions, or did we have a few more?
There's a follow-up question to your claw, the one that was asked earlier, and there's one from Wretched Youth, but Wretched Youth's question's a little bit of a thinker, so let me ask that one first. With all the catastrophic flooding happening near coastal areas of the world, isn't it possible that a storm would turn the whole area to sea during a storm?
Well, the entire launch site is, I think, 25 feet above sea level. So a storm surge of 25 feet or greater would flood everything. But I mean, that's just one of the things that they have to deal with if that happens. Most everything is actually protected fairly well. I was trying to look for some pictures of the front of the tank farm. They're actually protected in a way to prevent objects like boats or something that are in a storm surge from going through here and directly hitting, the tanks or something like that. So yeah, I mean, they do have protection against storm surge already, in my opinion. But yeah, there would obviously be a cleanup job no matter what.
Fair enough. Fisco1 asks, since you've already answered the strobe light question, do you know what the red, green, yellow lights on the tower are for, or what they signify?
I can answer that one. So the red are keep out. It basically is no personnel authorized. Yellow is authorized personnel only. Green is basically normal working conditions. The white with the red, we found that was the indicator for lightning strikes. So when you have the white and red flashing, that basically means danger. You're not supposed to be here. So right now it's got red lights flashing. There's nobody supposed to be on that tower right there.
Learn something every day. I did not know that.
Neither did I. Thank you.
But they have the same lights pretty much on all of the buildings at SpaceX and McGregor. It's basically the same color code system.
Awesome. All right. So with that, I don't know if we still have any more as well.
There are a couple more. There was a question about why will the claw not return?
I don't know. We get asked that question every show, and I still don't really know the answer. So at this point, I feel like people are just asking, hoping that I may have a different answer. But we haven't seen the claw at the Florida facility, so there's no reason to think it's coming back. So I don't know. That's really all we can say on that one.
I think it was just because it was just too dang slow.
Maybe.
It took like 23 minutes to move the thing.
So there's a question. Could GN2 be condensing back into the LN2 in one of those new pipes that rings the OLM? The person's asking, just takes a pressure into the recondensers, right?
No, it's not going to recondense within the pipe. That's it takes a lot of energy in order to cause that to happen, and it's not going to happen inside of the pipes like that.
Fair enough. And then there's a question that I think I know the answer to, but we'll leave it up to you, gents. Paul Ryan asks, what is the big blackish angular tall box jutting off the right side of the launch mount at the table height? I believe that's the QD, right?
Yeah. The booster QD. I think he's talking about the QD.
Fair enough. And that ends all of the questions and all the donations. Thank you guys all for your questions and donations today.
All right. And once again, we want to apologize for the shorter show. Hopefully we will have another flyover next week. Sorry. So keep a lookout on Twitter. If you guys haven't followed Mauricio on Twitter yet, I don't understand why that would happen, but make sure you do that. And if you'd like to follow any of us as well, our Twitter handles are on the bottom. And once again, my name is Zach Golden. So thank all of you for being here today. I will let everybody else do their sign-offs. But before I go, I do want to say, if you guys have not hit the like button yet, please make sure you do. I think it appears that less than half of you have done so far. So if you would just do us that huge favor, we love you guys forever. And with that, I'll pass it off.
To whom would you like to speak next?
The ball's in the air.
Well, I guess I'll take it. Thanks everybody for having me. As I usually say, it was quite fun. And yeah, be sure to check out the Ring Watchers on Twitter. We'll be putting out a new thread about some stuff going on within the next little while. And yeah, thanks.
I have to make fun of you. You're gonna be putting out some stuff about some stuff in a little while, are you?
You know, I've barely written anything, so yeah, that's about where we're at.
You're the best. I love that. That's the best answer I've heard all day. I'll go ahead and sign off next. Thank you all for joining us. Hope to see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll have a flyover in the meantime, weather permitting, so everybody think good sunny weather, no clouds, no rain. That's what we want. Mauricio, you want to go next?
Yes, I want to thank first off the team for making these live streams happen. You know, there's a lot of people involved with the production side of it and research, and you know, you'll see those names in the credits. And I also want to thank everybody that supported us with the super chats today. Definitely does help out a lot. Somebody did mention $5. You know, it does help out. It does give us additional time in the air, and I don't really get to, shout out the memberships of what they get for becoming a member. You actually get for like $1.99, you get access to about 3 to 4 flyovers in a month. So you're paying essentially, what is that, 50 cents a flyover to get access to the gallery. You also get access to the Discord server where we do live stream events the day of the flyover or the ground shots. So you get 3 to 4 flyovers in a month. You get 3 or 4 ground galleries in a month. So I think it's extremely worth it. We try and get back to you all first for the support. And then what's the other thing? And I mean, Grandpa Joe did have to sign off a little bit earlier. Wants to do the sign off today.
Oh,
Thomas?
wait. I
Oh,
decided to come back from mobile. You ready? And Ninja Cuddle. Stage separation
wait,
confirmed.
before you
Oh,
end us.
oh, no. Stage says stop, abort. Go ahead.
Abort! Reset. Thomas, would you like to say goodbye?
Oh, thank you for having me. I was going to jump in for Grandpa Joe, but I'm glad you're still here. So go for it again, Grandpa Joe.
Stage separation confirmed. Love you. Bye. Bye, guys.